Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me on Their Fight Story. I have with us Damon Gonzalez.
Hello, everybody. My name is Damon Gonzalez. I am the president of Latin Box Sports, which is boxing social media, and I'm also the president and CEO of the sanctioning body, the National Boxing Association, the NBA belt.
How was this whole process of the COVID-19 being these fights being canceled, all these matches that you've prepared so long for?
Yeah, I'll tell you, on both ends, on the media end and also on the sanctioning body end, it was tough all the way across the board for us and for everybody. I had fights scheduled, and actually, it was back in March. Shakur was fighting Mariaga at the Madison Square Garden Theater in New York, and I was actually on the plane on my way to New York, and they canceled the fight. I was on a JetBlue airplane on the air. So it
Mhm.
was like, okay, that's when everything broke loose, and
Yes.
Top Rank said, you know what, we're not going to move forward, and the Garden didn't want to move forward, rightfully so, because this started to really take a tsunami wave at everybody. So,
Yes.
I got to spend that weekend with my family in New York, and that's kind of where everything all started. It was tough on us. I had a couple of NBA sanctioning fights scheduled um, coming up. North Carolina, there was a couple of cities that we had to go to. Again, everything just started canceling. So, it was pretty tough. It was tough for us, and I'm sure
Yeah.
for the fighters and everybody else.
Now, I know you started back in June 9th. How did it feel to be back there? Just being around people and how it changed because now it's not the same, right?
Well, I'll tell you, exactly the platform and the game plan that Top Rank put into play was very, very significant and very specific on what they were doing. You can't compare it to Dana White's and UFC's game plan. This was totally different game plan on how they executed doing the fight. Now, personally, I was not there, but I will say that myself and a lot of people that work for Top Rank and ESPN, the way we're communicating now through laptop social media, that's how like Andre Ward and Timothy Bradley, they were all broadcasting from their houses. They weren't even there in the bubble. The bubble is the actual location of the MGM Grand Ballroom, which that whole entire area is quarantined. It's disinfected. No one is allowed in that area. No one will be able to be permitted to go in that area unless they're, of course, tested by COVID-19 to move forward to go into that area. So they really had it, very specific in how it was done. And a big shout out, of course, man, Evan Korn, the director of media relations for Top Rank, and a big shout out to Lee Samuels, Mikey Williams, Hector, everybody involved in the media team and the photographer at Top Rank. They were just on point. And as far as getting the show out, and it was great. It was really a great feeling seeing boxing, on ESPN.
Are you rescheduling or are you keeping the same fights that you already had scheduled from before?
Well, a lot of our shows and everything that we covered, again, with the changes, it's making an adapt to the new world and
Mhm.
what's happening now. And with that said, there's just a lot of questions that aren't answered with this COVID-19. So we all have to adapt to these situations. The one promotion, of course, Top Rank had a very, very skeleton crew staff
Mhm.
working that event. And the specifics behind that is because, of course, it's not a matter of social distancing, but you have to respect the fact that, legendary promoter Bob Arum, he doesn't want crowds in the arena yet. It's a situation that we're not hearing that it's safe. So, for them to move forward and do something right now like that would be very risky, I believe. So they did it the way they did it, and it was fascinating because
Mhm.
there was a couple of factors to it that were really cool. You got to hear the punches of the gloves. You
Yes.
got to hear the coaches in the background, calling out things to their fighters and what have you. And again, I mean, what can you say? Look at the colors and the lighting and everything in the show. That's how a show should be done. You know what I mean? It's great. It was to me very, very exciting.
That's awesome. Now, the fighters, have any of them considered changing their, I guess, maybe their weight class because of the way things are being handled right now, since it's so, health-wise, it's so delicate with the COVID-19 that nobody really knows how it really reacts, like as far as like the weight classes and cutting weight and meeting certain, you know, requirements.
I've been, very, very happy that I've been able to communicate with boxers for the past couple of days. I just spoke to Amir Khan on my live broadcast from London. And the one thing I can say is that it appears that most of the boxers right now, they're training.
Mhm.
Uh, they're in their little isolated camps, in their isolated gyms, which rightfully so they should be. This is a new norm right now. Fighters that are fighting behind closed doors. I get it. Of course, the excitement of having the crowds of roaring and cheering and what have you. Um, it just doesn't seem, of course, that boxing's at that point yet. But just to know that they're able to go in there and millions of people around the world are tuning into ESPN, and in the near future, of course, the other platforms, hopefully DAZN and other people follow suit, PBC and Fox, we'll be able to enjoy these fights. And most of the fighters I've spoke to, it doesn't seem to phase them or bother them fighting with nobody in the crowds. It's a business, and long as they're in there to do their job and execute and do what they need to do to get back in the ring, they're going to do it. And no question about it, the promoters behind the fighters are going to take care of the fighters.
Mhm.
They'll be able to adapt to different changes and what have you. But it's again, it was great. It was great seeing the sport back at some level. It was really great.
Do you think the media aspect is going to be changing?
You know, um, I got to give a shout out to the boxing media right now, and that's you and everybody that's connected in boxing. There is a high volume of streaming social media right now, and you see streaming shows all over the place.
Mhm.
There, to me personally, honestly, I'll give you my honest opinion. There is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that because it's a great time, kind of like a college course. If you want to learn something about a certain athlete, instead of reading a story and reading an article and reading what happened in a fight and what have you, when you start seeing these guys, promoters, cutmen, boxers, people all over the place online, you're starting to get educated about themselves.
Mhm.
You're starting to get educated about the fighter in the ring, but also the fighter outside the ring. Don't let it fall back and fail that everything leads to, oh, so who are you gonna call out next? Come on, man. You know,
Exactly.
I mean, there's just way more important things right now. And the important thing is that the athletes, everybody's safe. The safety of everybody through this is very, very important. So to me, that's the way I see it. I like the fact that I'm able to learn. I learned something about a couple of fighters that I never really knew about. I never really knew about them. All is that when the bell rings, they're in the ring and they do their job. But when you start learning, like, Magdalene, what they're doing in the community, what they're doing, in boxing with their foundations, some of them are able to carry their own foundations at this point. It's fascinating. It's pretty awesome. It's really heartfelt to me.
Mhm.
So that's really, really cool stuff.
I love that. I love that. I guess there was a positive to the COVID-19 after all, even though it's all negative. We get to learn more about the individual. We learn more about the fighter. And it's great that people see him as human beings and not just an athlete. They're more than that.
So yeah, there's a lot of us that are out there, to me, just working hard
Hmm.
every single day, trying to reach out to others and what have you. And I had a couple of referees aboard, talking to them on the social media, and it was awesome because again, it's not just the fighter in the ring; it's everybody in the family of boxing that's connected. And I don't pay attention to that hater stuff. I mean, that's I'm an OG. I'm from the old school. I ain't got time for that. So, I keep it positive, and it's really, again, it's awesome. And I encourage everybody out there that's in the sport, get involved. Connect with the media, connect with people, start connecting with your fans more, because that's just so important at
Hmm.
this time right now, because it's a valuable time. Give value to the time that you have to reach out to your fans and to everybody else. So I think that's pretty awesome for all of us.
That's awesome. When is your next show?
Well, we're gonna, of course, be following the show tonight for Top Rank. Okay, they have a show tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the ESPN, and like I said, it's exciting. It's exciting, and you know, as they have it by the book. Nobody's allowed in the bubble in the quarantine without getting tested. Whoever doesn't pass any of those tests will not be permitted or allowed and to go in, to be involved. So, I really give a lot of credit to them and Bob Urim for putting this correct, specific plan together to make sure that he takes care of the value and the safety of everybody involved, because that's the important thing. If this is going to succeed, if this is going to work right now, it has to be done in that kind of a format where everybody's safe.
Now, now you say that about, everybody being tested, everybody being safe. What happens with the medical aspect of it, like with the ambulances? You know how they won't allow a fight to go on unless, the crew is there. How does that change with the COVID? Do they how would that happen?
Well, that right there doesn't change. Okay, there is always, for example, Bob Bennett, the director of the Nevada Boxing Commission, part
Mhm.
of sanctioning actual fight card is they have to have medics uh, on standby, ready to go. So, of course, working in that field, you wouldn't be working in that field if you're positive. Everybody in that field, it's a very fine line, I feel, with everybody being tested and everybody making sure that they're okay when they go into the responsibility of working in a hospital and being around patients and being around, other doctors and staff. So part of having those fight cards, the two medics have to be on standby, ready to go, and they were on Tuesday, and definitely they're going to be again tonight. So that's something that's part of that plan. They
Mhm.
they will be there. So
It's awesome. Have your fighters expressed how they feel about it? Like, do they feel less stressed because there's not a huge crowd? Um, or like how is their perspective of it?
I haven't interviewed any of the fighters that fought on Tuesday night at this point, but shortly we will be. I'm sure we're gonna get reactions in what they thought and how they felt, in that kind of setting and what have you. But again, it's an adapt. We all have to adapt to the situation right now. And you know what? Think about it. I'd rather take that right now than no boxing at all. So it's good that at least we're able to see fights right now, and that's great for sports in general. And if this is the norm right now, again, I'll take it. Because it was exciting. Tuesday was very exciting. We're watching Shakur Stevenson. Man, the kid is the real deal.
Hmm.
He's definitely the real deal, and I really enjoyed watching him fight on Tuesday. And you can sense, and I just sensed it. It's kind of like sitting ringside
Hmm.
watching a fight. You could sense in a fighter right from the jump, right from the beginning. He just landed certain punches and combinations, and then followed up, and he definitely fought at his pace. dictated the fight, didn't allow Felix to breathe in the fight,
Hmm.
and he did everything he needed to do. And it kind of showed how the period of time that
Hmm.
the champion had off, that he let it all go in this fight. It was like it kind of sounds like it was a relief to him,
Yeah.
for him to be back in the ring as soon as the bell hit. Boom, ba, 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 ba. I mean, he didn't stop. And to me, I mean, I was watching at home and everything was ooh, ah, oh, the punches he was throwing. It was beautiful. It was like artwork. So it
Mhm.
was exciting. It was exciting watching this young man at his age, phenomenal, develop the way he is right now. He's really the real deal.
That's awesome. Is there anybody that you think we should know of that we should be looking out for that's going to be an upcoming boxer?
There was one kid on the card that I really, really like. I've been always a fan for many years. When I started my boxing career 22 years ago, around Don King Productions, I've always been a fan of the heavyweights. And
Hmm.
I'll tell you what, this kid fought Tuesday night, Jarrett Anderson, Big Baby. He's from Toledo, Ohio. That kid is really special. He's a young man that he's a heavyweight, but he went in there. He handled himself very well. He did really good things in the ring that a heavyweight should do at that level of professional boxing. And I was really admiring that. I was admiring how he was behaving like a fighter and really executing. And the kid that he fought, he was game. The kid was game. He fought back, but he just didn't have enough tools in his toolbox to kind of counter back at him. And you can see how special the kid is. And one of the broadcasters mentioned again, the guy's a baby. He hasn't even developed into his man body yet, and that's what's scary. A couple of years down the road, this is a kid we're going to hear of. We're definitely going to hear of him as a heavyweight world champion, I believe.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. Do you before we finish up, do you have any tips or advice that you want to give to the athletes, to the fighters, to their coaches, or even management during this time?
Well, just the one thing that's important is that we all continue to be very, very safe with ourselves, our family, and people around us. That's just so, so important. I do my best for myself personally, educate myself more every day on updates and what the government CDC is talking about and issues that they're addressing towards the COVID virus. So it's important for me to do that. Right now, for myself, I've stood back with traveling for this reason. But in the sport, that's what I recommend to everybody. Just safety's first. This is a very serious thing that's happening in our country. And it's very sad with many other sad things that are happening. I've been praying so much for the protesters out there in the world with everything that's going on. It's just messed up, man. It's messed up that we as people just have to be subjected to this kind of crap, that this kind of violence and stuff. And I think it's important for everybody in their teams and everybody in their groups to just be smart, educate yourselves, communicate very important with each other, and just watch yourself. Keep social distance and do whatever it is your coach says. Follow suit with your coach and your management and your promoters. Take care of yourself. That's the most important thing because I really believe it's temporary. This is not going to be around forever. This is going to be something it's here right now, and I wish I had an answer. I just don't have an answer to it. All I can do is just hope for the best and be safe on my end and show that example for my family. You know what I mean? To continue to do what we need to do to stay healthy. So that's what I recommend to everybody else is just stay grounded, take care of your people and keep on punching. Like I said, this is so important for all of us, man. This is motivating. It's motivating that we're reaching out to each other and talking to each other and just keeping the sport alive because it's our sport.
Yes, and it's a beautiful sport.
Oh yeah.
Can't forget about that. Thank you so much, Damon, for taking the time. I know you're busy, but it's very much appreciated. And I will be talking to you soon to have a follow-up on, what's going on, the changes and everything.
Awesome. I would love to be back, and I appreciate you reaching out to us. Okay.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
God bless. Thank you.
Thank you.